Welcome back, everybody. The Smite PS4 console qualifiers roll on. Aggro now joined by Toli, and we've got Insomnia up against, I already forgot the team name, Toli.
It's going to be Afreeca Freecs. These are the teams that are 1-0.
Yep.
They need to find another victory to get a little bit closer to qualify to the PlayStation League.
You totally threw me off my entire vibe by whispering Aggro's a fat egg as soon as our mics
I have no
went
idea
live.
what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you're hearing things, man.
Sure you don't. Let's head over and see exactly what we've got going on for today and what you've seen thus far. So far today. This is Group B, and as you mentioned, both the Afreeca Freecs and Insomnia are sitting at 1-0. Team Pub and Charlie's Morals not dead quite yet, but for whatever team wins this next matchup, Toli, they're going to put themselves in a great spot to win. Not guaranteed necessarily, but you're at least forcing a tiebreaker at worst.
That's true. There could be a 3-way 2-1 tiebreaker if everyone beats up on one team, but in the previous group, it was Takedown and Charizard in my backyard, so still trying to find these two remaining European teams to join them.
That's right, and we've got the third matchup coming your way right now, and then the last three will also be today, so you got a full day worth of PS4 console qualifiers waiting for you, and we're here to bring it for you, and very excited to do so. Should be ready to get it in picks and bans very, very soon here. And look, these two teams, as we mentioned, getting off to a 2-0 start is absolutely critical for both of these squads. Which of these two, just based on the eye test, has impressed you the most so far?
I think that Afreeca Freecs, because Insomnia, despite having a great lead in their previous game, it was difficult for them to find the victory in a proper timing matter.
Sure.
Most competitive games go anywhere between 28 to 32 minutes. Taking 55 minutes to end a game, which should have been won around 30 to 35, means that there's some holes that you need to kind of plug in for your future games.
Yeah, a little bit of a longer one there for Insomnia, but as you mentioned, the Freaks looked pretty solid in their first game, so we'll see if they can replicate that here in game number 3 of the day. Gibalanki and Ravin banned away by Insomnia. Ravin certainly played a big part in that last game, and then some global presence banned away by the Freaks in both Athena and Turnabog.
Could leave the Terra open if that Insomnia would rather go for it, but the way that they played the last game with Kino playing that Geb, I'm not expecting that prioritization.
Susano, first pick, a god that's we saw quite a bit of the other day on console in North America and in Europe the day before that. This just seems to be a kind of meta selection on the PS4 that a lot of people are liking, but it does leave open the Guan for the Freaks, and I believe they played a Janus that was really, really strong in game 1, and yeah, that's exactly what they're going to go for. No surprise there.
You got the sustain, you got the mobility. I like Afreeca's draft thus far. Insomnia prioritizing the Susano as opposed to potentially the Artemis that a lot of players will go for, the Zhong, the Changas. Just goes to show that it's about your team's identity and what works for you.
Sure, well, Insomnia is going to try their hand at that Zhong that they went up against in the last game, and there's a Geb once more, as you mentioned. Zhong here, I kind of like picking Zhong and then not selecting a mid laner right away, that you can kind of flex it. I mean, we've seen a lot more Zhong solo than Zhong mid as of late, but you still have that potential to put it in the mid lane.
You got to be able to throw some question marks at your opponents to be able to adapt to the Zhong. Geb on top of the Zhong, well, those recall demons, you got to worry about that even more because that Zhong is running harder at you with the Geb shield.
Yeah, that's a good point. Agni banned, and as the Freaks think that might be Zhong solo, and likely will be. Hunbat's another pick that we don't see a lot of on Xbox or in the Global Series or in the PC Pro League that much these days, but has seen a lot of success here on the PS4. Not just seeing play, but a lot of big plays coming out of the Hunbats.
The control is what it's all about. If you can force some Purification Bees, just go for Hydra's Lament, go for the Jotun's Wrath, or even Transcendence. Get some cooldown reduction on yourself to be able to force those relics, timers, and get off of the ultimate for round 2.
A couple duo lane bans there by Insomnia, but they leave open the Hachiman, and that's exactly where the Freaks are going. Hachiman kind of fell off for a little bit, saw a little bit less of him in competitive play, and is now starting to work his way back up, everyone remembering that he can still do the job, as can Odin, especially against the Guan on the other side.
Very true. Both horses going to get locked into the cage, going to be stuck in their stall respectively, but some Janus portals through a wall could potentially get them out, depending where the fight is at.
That's true. Odin and Medusa, that means that Zhong is going to the mid lane, and Odin will be in the solo lane, most likely, unless we see some sort of Geb solo shenanigans. As Terra was left open, and you mentioned it makes it all the way down to 10th pick. The Freaks have some pretty good team fight control, but it's not as much consistent damage as what Insomnia has on the other side.
I agree. I think that the longer a team fight lasts, Afreeca should be able to really start winning it with all their mobility and the sustain. I really like the Guan Yu Janus combination. Insomnia is more about this burst damage. Once Recall Demons is out of all the souls in the bag, then I just don't see too much follow-up from Insomnia.
Oh, the one thing that jumps off the picks and bans for me, though, is that the Freaks just selected Terra into an Odin. And that is a rough matchup at times for the Terra. I mean, I guess you're in opposite sides of the map, at least at first, but once this team fighting phase comes along, that Terra could be in trouble.
Even though Terra could get locked down, if an Odin jumps on a Terra, you just root him in place inside the cage, and then the rest of your teammates can easily still collapse and follow up if they're in position to do so. That Fear No Evil is also important about splitting a team fight into two. So you got one big Odin cage circle on the top side, and if you kind of make a Venn diagram on the south end of that with a Fear No Evil, the rest of the teammates can't follow up from PBE's Odin cage.
That's a great point, and because of that threat of the Odin cage, even with the Fear No Evil on their side, Fast Kill does pick up the Phantom right away at level 1. Doesn't go for any boots or anything, he just instead choosing to stack his pots in that solo lane. Buying Phantom at level 1 does feel rough. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel great, but dying a couple times before level 12 because of Odin Cage feels even worse.
I absolutely agree with you, which is why we're seeing Fast Kill 98 also opt for a lot of potions on top of this, going for 4 health potions after Health Chalice with some of the changes to Breastplate of Valor, or rather the regular breastplate going from 500 to 600 gold. You can no longer get the Chalice, Warrior's Blessing, and that defensive item that you want to. So you got to kind of figure out how many potions you want in the laning phase.
Do you remember what Finch and Taco decided on for the Freaks jungler? Is it Button Masha? Is it Battomancha? Is it Batman? I believe I heard a couple Batman calls. You get, what are we going to go with here? This is a new bit that I'm doing, by the way, is that I'll see a name and then I'll just like talk to, instead of, usually we have these conversations behind the scenes on like what we're going to talk, what we're going to call these people that have like kind of weird names. But I think it's fun to just do it on the air now. Tom doesn't like it very much, but I do.
I just wish that he used a different vowel other than A for his name, but no success to find the kill. GunTeR in the mid lane right through the portal, and that's the tricky thing about a Janus. And even picking a Janus into a Susano, which could travel through the jet stream, surprised the confidence coming from this Janus.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup. Probably the only matchup the Janus players really don't want to see. Things like Poseidon can be obnoxious, RDO as well, but Susano is really the one that can just ruin Janus.
And the Hunt Bats, the teleport could be a little annoying. In the duo lane, not really too much to speak about thus far, but because of the differences of the red buffs, however, as it just now fizzles away from the Hachiman, as it's Terra on his squad wanting to get some mid pressure, whereas Afreeca wanting it in the duo lane.
Terra going for the early tiny trinket. Not something you see that much of Zhong. Lifesteal really not thought of as a core part of what he wants to build, but can work out. I mean, a Bancroft's talent on a Zhong, you don't really have a choice but to take the damage, and if you try and burn him down, that means his damage over time will become that much more potent. Just feels a little bit weird to not prioritize some sort of early either movement speed in the form of Shaman's Ring or health in the form of a Gem of Isolation or a Warlock staff.
Is there any chance that eventually that becomes a Pythagram's piece in the late game, trying to get some more lifesteal for also Vegan?
Yeah, it could be. Not something that you usually see rushed, kind of almost a support item these days because of the health that it has on it, but because of that health, could be pretty good on Zhong. He could be doing the Shadow Nightmare style, which is buy Tiny Trinket, then immediately sell it to finish your boots. It's just worried about your level 1 and through 4 clear. The Shadow Nightmare used to do a lot on the PC side of things, so a couple options.
I mean, for 550 gold, you're getting, what, 20 magical power and about 4% lifesteal?
Might be 6%.
So somewhere between 4 and 6, and an item that you can sell back for about 366 and change is not too bad. You're only losing about 130 gold on somewhat, but now in the cage, you can't use the Phantom while you're on the horse, my friend.
First blood goes the way of Insomnia, and I think even with the Phantom, Fast Kill is likely dead to rights in that spot.
I'm not sure, because if he Phantoms and then cavalry charges towards his tier 1 tower, he could have been safe.
Maybe.
A lot of mobility in that horse.
It's a good point, but it does let him back to get full boots at this point, and PBE will do the same on his side. Blink, the relic selection for the Odin solo. We already touched on the Phantom for fast kill.
Can you imagine if you can use relics during cavalry charge?
That'd be really nuts. What if you could like blink?
Belt. Oh.
Yeah, you could hop on it and then blink after someone.
I was thinking belt, but that blink sounds even spicier.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But I mean, like, you don't want to be able to Aegis in the middle of that. You know, that'd be insane.
True.
You could get just like insane movement speed, CC immunity, and an Aegis all at the same time. Though I guess like, I mean, Zhong can use Aegis in his ultimate while he's root immune, but it's different than like being CC immune with a bunch of movement.
On Batz on the bottom side, trying to follow up, but he might not even need to be here because the mounted archery secures the kill.
Vegan falls very quickly to the pressure from the Freaks in the duo lane. The couple creeps were zoned away because the Freaks were sitting at level 5, whereas Insomnia was not. And that's why they're allowed to zone, because if either Kino or Vegan had stepped up more than that, it would have been even easier than having to use both ultimates, but an easy kill for the Freaks.
FirewwGod preferring the red meat on the left side of the lane. On the right side, trying to still survive his fast kill. He's pretty much out of mana, and without his presence in the laning phase, it gives these small windows for PBE to invade the blue buff. He heavily prefers this Odin, it seems, because even in the last game, when he was up against the Zhong from FIFA Beast, he just continued to invade the blues.
Yeah, fast kill actually forced back to base because PBE has stripped him of that mana buff, and fast kill was low in that department. Usually, Guan Yu's laning phase is thought of as, can his opponent interrupt Tallow Assault? If yes, then bad matchup. If no, then good matchup for him. But it doesn't seem to be that easy. If you can strip away his blue buff, he does run out of mana pretty quickly, and then you're losing quite a bit of farm.
But even if you can disrupt that Tallow Assault, with some of the changes to his basic attacks, now getting a little bit of a cleave, it helps out with his laning phase. And you don't always have to max out that third ability. You can still go for the dash and do a significant amount of damage.
Oh, Jayhawks nearly got the pull there onto Button Masher, which is what I've decided to go with for now. GunTeR gets through the wall. That time, Susano not able to find the counterplay around the Janus. Of course, Susano's counterplay entirely revolves around Jetstream and Wind Siphon, both of which were on cooldown by the time that Jayhawks went for the mid lane.
It was a very timely jump from the Batz to avoid the pull originally from the Susano. And as a result, I think that Jox wanted to make something happen and forced himself in that position where he was poking away the Janus and trying to see how much damage he can really get out of that. Even thinking that he could get that Typhoon off before the Janus portal came through. Takes about 2 seconds to fully charge, though.
Button Masher going for a Hydra's Lament in the jungle, something that I think is kind of criminally underpurchased right now, especially on these two characters that we're seeing in Susano and Batz in the jungle. Two characters that, in one, Batz can auto-cancel well enough, but it's more about his passive, has that extra, that crit chance after you use an ability. If you get that crit with a Hydra's, it does insane DPS, whereas Jayhawks can build Hydras very well because his character auto-cancels particularly well. It's early CDR. It's not particularly expensive. It fixes your mana for you because it has that passive that regens your mana, very similar to Old Sands of Time. It's really, really good.
And I'm expecting him to potentially even leave this open if he really wants to. The Hydra Star, only about 1,000 gold. It's not very much to be able to build into. Very cost effective if he wants to leave it at that, or if he wants to get a bigger spike. Wouldn't fault him for finishing that item off either way. Trying to make a play happen on the left side, though. Jungler versus jungler.
Neither feel the need to go aggressive. Jayhawks' ultimate has come back up after that little skirmish in the mid lane. Bud Masher not wanting to take that 1v1, and wisely so. Jayhawks has finished his first item. Not the Hydras, but instead the Jotun's Wrath. Still always a welcome sight for any jungler. 20% CDR plus power and pen. Yeah, that's kind of exactly what they're looking for. All in one item is the game. Not particularly fast-paced right now, but Insomnia does have the ever so slight lead of about 300 gold.
It's a little bit more expensive than the Hydra's Lament, but he got the first blood and finally making a presence in the left side. FirewwGod can't get away from that one.
Too aggressive there. Matreya doing a little bit of the same. Beats forced, and Treya's still alive. That Geb shield from Kino was critical, and now mrsacx is going to go down, or Mr. Sax, I suppose, to me. GunTeR Warrior gets through the wall safely, but a 2 for 0. That's the power of the Zhong, where it feels like you've got him dead to rights in a 3v1. Trey is able to survive and put out tons of damage.
It was the Geb shield. Kino keeping Zhong alive just for a moment. I like the fact that also Trey opted to go for Shoes of Focus before finishing off that Bancroft's Talon, sitting at a rank 3 Stone Shield, where you'll see the supports kind of prioritize the clear and the knockup for winning some of these team fights, but that Geb shield paying dividends for Trey.
Very, very much so, and a Gold Fury goes Insomnia's way as well. With the Hunter being named VeganFatness, I keep wanting to, my brain is putting Keto in for Geb.
Keto?
Instead of Kino. Like they'd be the dietary duo lane.
That would be good. Speaking of like combinations of names, between GunTeR in the mid lane and mrsacx, I thought that there was some kind of like electronical dance like name, you know?
Okay,
mrsacx OB, and
I could see
obviously
that.
Everyone knows GunTeR.
Everyone knows GunTeR. GunTeR is just a word that I don't say enough for whatever reason. You know, I should just throw that in there for any reason whatsoever. I don't know. It just has a really good feel. It has a good mouth feel to it. You know what I mean?
True.
It's like the you think of umami when you think of food, like mouth feel. But I think of it when it comes to
not feeling this one is Insomnia trying to run away from all the pressure out of Afreeca. A lot of AoE damage in response, but a hot double kill from Batz.
Great team synergy there from the Freaks on the left-hand side. 4 members all working in unison perfectly. But what stands out to me already, Toli, is that just from watching the earlier game and now right there, GunTeR Warrior is the one that is facilitating all of this for the Freaks. I mean, this Janus selection there through space and time comes through, hits one, gives portals in the perfect angle to keep the chase going. This is the pick that really is making the, if this team comp will work for the Freaks, it'll be because of GunTeR.
It was also the timing. The call was made while the beads was still down from Treya, while the sprint still down from Kino. Vegan, though, putting himself in aggressive position against FirewwGod.
Yeah, FirewwGod's totally toast here. And Vegan's allowed to eat that because it's toast. That's an easy kill for JHawks and Vegan together. Great positioning from Vegan and also taking advantage of FirewwGod not being quick enough on the turnaround. Something that we usually don't talk about the disadvantages of the controller can provide, but I will because I maintain Smite's a harder game on console and just harder to control. And that means that these players have to make tougher plays, but you have to be able to turn your sensitivity up enough to get around from Medusa ult.
It's not only that, it's also the fact that FirewwGod used his ultimate during that red buff invade, finding those 2 kills. PBE positioning himself perfectly, anticipating the Odin cage just with the Phantom.
Goodbye, GunTeR. Don't imagine he's going to be able to get out of this one with the Book of Demons coming out as well. No, it didn't do enough damage.
He's a Janus.
I'm shocked that didn't do enough from the Zhong. I guess it's the cooldown boots in addition to the Bancroft's Talon. Just didn't bring enough damage from Traya. GunTeR force back now. Button Masher coming in the mid lane. Fear No Evil not enough with the help of a Terra to get the kill onto Kino. Would have required an Earth and Fury to even have a hope of killing the Geb in that spot.
The Stone Shield just a little bit too strong at this point in the game before Afreeca Freecs get enough damage, enough penetration to really start punishing Kino for being a little bit too far forward. Now, you can see a difference in the aura build selection, trying to be more universal is the Geb, whereas mrsacx thinking about more of that physical defense with the sovereignty, the way Jax has been positioning himself has been rather aggressive, so build that up now. Don't even worry about the stacks.
I wonder if, I imagine the sensitivity is the same between PlayStation and Xbox. Of course, I'm much more familiar with the Xbox side of things. I believe it was 16 was the sensitivity you needed to turn around in time in reaction to a Medusa ult to not get stunned. Shoutouts to Air Cougar. My man played ADC and still never got above 16 on the sensitivity. But my man's also won a world championship, so.
You just wanted to, like, rip it into him real quick.
Hey, man, no, he made it happen. I just always said whenever we were going up against Cougs, I'd be like, why don't we just pick Medusa and you just ult him every time he looks at you? Because he can't turn around. It made no sense to me how he didn't just take advantage of that. Taking advantage in the mid lane, GunTeR's Aegis is down, and so is he. Treya gets that kill, but a team effort between himself and JHawks and Kino. Cataclysm and the Susano blink all that's needed in that spot.
Trying to find more aggression on the right side. PBE just zoning away the Guan. Couldn't really steal away that blue buff or those back camps. So finding a quick pick, an 18-second window to make something happen, but Gold Fury not due to respawn for another 20 seconds.
Problem is, Vegan has the potential to make big plays here in the enemy jungle. That time, though, it didn't happen because Petrify was off the mark. GunTeR does bring down FirewwGod yet again as a 1-for-1 happens in the jungle. And with Gold Fury coming up, Insomnia still feel fairly confident, but they don't have Petrify and they don't have Cataclysm. Two of their best ultimates for this spot. Now, Terra does have his.
No fear, no evil to worry about, so you can force a team fight, force the Batz a little out of position.
Oh,
that damage.
That was insane. That's the damage you're looking for from the Batz. Kino receiving some damage from the entirety of the Freaks. GunTeR gets that one, as now the Freaks have control over this Gold Fury for the moment. Fear no evil coming up, not for a little bit still, but PBE has that Odin cage available. He's the only one local. Terra pretty close as well. He'll jump in, drop the cage onto mrsacx, and here comes Terra, Book of Demons, and the Exorcism will get 1 kill. Shell and Phantom use, try and get Battomancha out of danger, and he should be able to escape. Terra, not so lucky.
So low in that regard. PBE really wants to find the kill onto this Batz, but jumping into the Tier 1 tower, narrowly avoiding it. Still diving as OhMyJhox under the Tier 2.
Somehow finds it. FirewwGod very low. Petrify coming up soon, but not soon enough. Typhoon did a little bit of work there to get GunTeR into a better spot. Still not entirely in the clear, but with Kino's help from the Stone Shield, is now A-okay. Bit of a bloodbath in the enemy jungle.
The Cataclysm holding on to the knockup. The body blocks were so long, and Vegan, just for good measure, using the Petrify, didn't even need it, but better safe than sorry, allowing Insomnia to get the Tier 1 tower.
Tier 1 and now a potential Gold Fury pull as well. Problem is, FirewwGod, mrsacx, and GunTeR are all coming, and they all have ultimates. No beads for GunTeR, though, and GunTeR will certainly be hunting him, as is his job. FirewwGod steps up, tries to shoot some shots, but PBE has returned as well, or PBE rather.
I've been confused about that as well. I want to say PBE, but I'm like, if there wasn't already a player named PIBE, I'd be saying PBE all day long for him.
PBE is also a really good name for what it's worth. Gold Fury down to about 2K. That gets reset. It's in the mid lane. Jungler's going 1v1. GunTeR loses that 1v1, but Insomnia looks likely to take this Gold Fury, and indeed they will. mrsacx can't get in there in time, but does find a good Earth and Fury as GunTeR comes around and chunks down Terra. Terra still standing until FirewwGod sticks an arrow in him and gets the job done. Sax somehow manages to escape as GunTeR needs the Aegis to try and do the same.
All right, there goes the cavalry charge. Firework with a double kill onto Vegan as Battomancha finding the kill onto PBE, making it a 4-for-0. Gold Fury going the way of Insomnia, though, but you gotta be screaming worth if you're on the Chaos side.
Without a doubt, because there's plenty of objectives to take now, and I doubt Kino is going to be able to do a lot to stop them. This could be a Tier 2 in the mid lane for the Freaks. Pyromancer's available as well, but seems to be that a Tier 2 worth more gold, worth more experience, and worth more map pressure, almost most importantly. But GunTeR has respawned and is getting close. Tier 2 does fall between the Batz and the Hachiman damage, and the Freaks certainly come out on top in that little skirmish.
That heavily banner just amplifying the attack speed to allow Afreeca to be able to get an additional 1,500 gold. Getting a Pyromancer on the top of it all. GunTeR not really in position to do anything about it, and that went down very quickly.
Really did. Man, this mid jungle so far for the Freaks has been absolutely paramount in their success. 6-1-3 for Battomancha, 2-1-5 for GunTeR Warrior. These two have been so involved in what's been going on, and even though it's really Insomnia who's topping the player damage charts, it's PBE, it's Terra, the damage that has been coming out from Battomancha has been so relevant.
He's finding some picks in the early game around corners, but in these team fights, it's a little more difficult. In the last one, he tried to go onto Vegan, but Kino was right there with the Stone Shield, forcing the jump defensively from Battomancha. But by even isolating those two individual members, that makes it a 4-on-3 on the opposite end of it.
PBE already used the cage. Cavalry charge comes out, but GunTeR's there to make sure that the portal was nice and ready. This Odin will eventually fall, but Terra is coming to his assistance. Will realize that's a folly idea and immediately send himself packing. Good idea. Odin just too far forward in the enemy side at this point in the game.
Without a gold barrier on the left side, there's no reason to bait yourself that far out of position unless you had some sort of global way of disengaging, like an Athena ultimate. Like if you're sitting there on the right side, then sure, go for it. Put yourself out there on purpose to bait them all out there. But free kill onto level 16 Odin that's trying to stack up some of this Height of the Urchin.
Oh, Terra, an early Book of Demons, and honestly, he needed it too. Through space and time, narrowly avoided by the Zhong. Cataclysm trying to buy him some space, but Battomancha still manages to find it. Typhoon came through as well. Petrify not great there from Vegan, but FirewwGod falls to the hand of GunTeR, and that'll send Freecs packing, at least for a minute.
Just enough damage to find the kill onto FirewwGod, knocking Socks away there, but the pull is even better, forcing the disengage out of Janus.
Oh, but Fear No Evil came back up. Vegan uses both his relics. PBE's respawned as Sax was looking for the root, couldn't find it. Phantom used just in case as GunTeR finally chases down GunTeR Warrior. Sax will use the portal provided by GunTeR to get himself out of danger, but that was a lot expended for the Freecs in a fight that just didn't seem that necessary.
Now, Jox, having his spidey senses tingling, identified where this Janus was. GunTeR thought he was safe being a Janus, but the Susano had other intentions. Kino trying to lead the charge for the rest of his teammates to collapse in this 3-on-3.
PBE, no ultimate for him. Not even close to that cage quite yet. Just nearing the halfway point until his cage is back up. Only 20% CDR for the Odin, though that can certainly get the job done. As after kind of dilly-dallying in the enemy jungle, now Insomnia decide this is the time to go for Fire Giant, but by this time FirewwGod is respawned, and GunTeR Warrior is nearly done the same. Terra gets knocked up, takes about a third of his HP from FG.
Oh, look at the backhand side. Jox wrapping around, forcing the cavalry charge out of the Guan Yu through space and time. Not clipping anybody, but here comes the damage.
But it gets everyone here for the Freecs. Fast kill still alive in the Odin cage. Petrify can't find him as VeganFatness now on the run from GunTeR Warrior. Bird Bomb from PBE really there just to distract, and he will do just that as Vegan, the only one still alive. The Freecs, on the other hand, still nice and strong. All 5 members on the map. Insomnia just take way too much time to decide what they want to do.
You got to look for more than just the respawn timers when making an objective call. You have to identify who is that particular individual respawning. Global ultimates like Apollo, Athena, Janus have to be like more considered in a microscopic detail where it's like, all right, well, yeah, they're reviving in 5 seconds, but they're realistically getting here in like 10. With all that global pressure. And with the Fire Giant now at 22 minutes, the Chaos side has the ability to get the remaining Tier 2 towers and maybe even a Phoenix.
And Battomancha continues to just be the guy right now for the Freecs. 8-1 now. He has surpassed Terra, PBE, Jox, everybody on the other side in player damage. He's sitting up on top and is getting himself a little bit of defense with the Magi's Cloak. I think that's a wise call. Has plenty of damage already. Was just put on display. Just crit camp for 1100.
Just needed more secondary cleanse options to avoid the initial pull from Jox that's been looking for it through the wall, or like around corners with the blink potential. Insomnia now having to play defense for the next 3 minutes.
Now on the other side, Jox has gone for all damage, and I think that as much as I like the Magi's for Battomancha and as much control as the Freecs have, when you're behind like this, sometimes you just need the ability to find one squishy out of position and make sure you confirm that kill. And that for that reason, I really like the build that Jox has gone for as well.
And if he doesn't find the kill, Afreeca can easily just disengage, heal up from fast kill, and look. And also keep in mind mrsacx having the Monolith, also the Lotus Crown to enable some more protections, keeps Afreeca more aggressive in these skirmishes.
Wouldn't even mind to see the Terra go for a Rod of Asclepius in this spot. I mean, not the most defensive item, but it does have health, does have movement speed, but more importantly would boost the healing of not only mrsacx, but that of fast kill as well. And that could really be a big deal on these sieges, which is where healing...
Uh-oh, Terra gets spotted out at the tier 2 right side. Cavalry charge going on in and through space and time, deleting the Zhong from the map.
Petrify was solid from Vegan, but Fear No Evil a little bit better. That gets both relics out from the Medusa, whereas Petrify had only stunned 1, and that damage was immediately healed up by fast kill. That's twice now that Terra's found himself in a pretty bad spot in these team fights.
5-on-4 for at least 25 seconds. Afreeca still barreling down the right side lane. Has to worry about the Typhoon and the Odin cage, but without recall demons for another 15 seconds, I don't think Insomnia can hold on to this Phoenix.
mrsacx will tank it up for the moment. Blink in from PBE. Earth and Fury comes down on the backside. No healing is coming from that ability quite yet. Now it could, should those stones be popped. Blink forward by GunTeR, looking for FirewwGod on the backside, but FirewwGod still about half HP. Typhoon getting charged up and does quite a bit of work as GunTeR actually creates some space, not enough to get away from Battomancha, who finds number 9 in the kill department for just himself. 19 in total for the Freaks, as now they head right back towards the
Cavalry charge yet again, but this time the target is going to be Kino. He's the one that gets stunned out using the shell and the stone shield, but it's not enough through the Fear No Evil, good enough to take him out.
Vegan chunked by that unstable vortex. Damage not quite there to kill Fast Kill yet.
Oh, he's so isolated from his teammates. They're going to let him back?
They let him back. Right there. And no teleport for him to get back, but we'll certainly be able to come and help out sooner rather than later. Another decent Petrify from Vegan, but just no follow-up. 2 stunned, but no damage afterwards.
Trying to hold on to the right side, Phoenix. Terra gets hit by the mounted archery. Good recognition from FirewwGod to truly understand the damage that he's going to be outputting. Terra not really respecting it. Still had the Aegis, but man, good play on the FirewwGod side.
Mid Phoenix down to about half HP. Sax locked in the cage, and his Phantom was wicked late. He gets punished. He'll die. FirewwGod knocked up. No relics for him. He'll die as well. So 2 kills for Insomnia on the mid Phoenix defense. Looks like they still want some more. Cataclysm solid on the GunTeR Warrior. Still at his beads through all of that. As a turnaround unstable vortex brings both tanks within chase range, but likely the Freaks will let him go.
Fast Kill having the cavalry charge could commit with Battomancha right around the corner, but not going to commit quite yet. A lot of vision control from Afreeca around that right side of the map. Speed, right side Phoenix, between middle and right side Phoenix. Those are the spots you want to ward during Phoenix sieges and on the defensive side.
Fire Giant's coming up in about 10 seconds, so the Freaks, even though they only get 1 Phoenix there, they get a bunch of kills and set themselves up for an opportunity to get to enhanced Fire Giant. Now that it's been killed once and it's past 25 minutes, Fire Giant gets even better for this team.
30% extra structure damage, just nothing to scoff at when you're looking to close the games out. It took a long time for Insomnia to win their last previous game, about 55 minutes to be exact, but Afreeca, they're going to be up to the test with their second one now.
Again, this is a bunch of best of ones, 6 best of ones on the schedule for today. Of course, we could have more should there be tiebreakers. This is match number 3, both Insomnia and Afreeca Freecs sitting at 1-0. And as we discussed earlier, 2-0 doesn't guarantee you in, but it guarantees you aren't out right away. Regardless of the outcome of the rest of the games, sitting at 2 wins means that at the very worst, for whichever team becomes the victor, they will force a tiebreaker if it comes to that. So Freaks looking to close out this game now, and GunTeR Warrior, it has the potential to basically end the game with 1 through space of time.
Yeah, so position it very accordingly. PBE alongside Kino trying to play defense. They have to not allow the primary engage from Battomancha that's been so disruptive in the backline.
Fast Kill heads to the right side to clear out a fire minion wave and push his in towards the enemy base. Usually you'll see teams push in the Phoenix that isn't down yet to give themselves an opportunity, but you can tell Freaks smell the blood in the water, and here goes Fast Kill up onto the horse. Cage comes down to separate him from the back line. Nice cage from PBE, though not enough to bring down Fast Kill, who even holds on to the Phantom. Petrify wasn't great. Cataclysm was better, but not as good as the Fear No Evil from Battomancha. That did a lot of work through space and time. Chunks down Kino as mrsacx and Battomancha head into the back line. JHOX forced backwards as Battomancha, undeterred, makes sure that his team gets the mid Phoenix.
Kino worried about that teleport onto the Titan. Kino was probably 1, maybe 2 shots away, but very patient. Battomancha not going to put himself that far away from the rest of his teammates, granting themselves the middle Phoenix, but left side is a little difficult.
Fast Kill falls and JHOX gets out of there. Now here comes the recall demons from Terra as well. Sax getting low, but GunTeR Warrior with that Unstable Vortex does an absolute ton of damage.
The crits.
That brought him down quickly. Vegan able to dash away as Kino will fall.
Great chain combination there. Terra stun, Portal as well. All three Phoenixes stripped away. A couple fire minions having to be dealt with on the right side. And Afreeca a little low, and without fast kill for the sustain, not going to overstep quite yet, but instead going to go for the respawning Phoenix on the right side potentially with Treya, and Kino still dead.
And without the sustain from fast kill, as you mentioned, they do have some from the Terra, but not as much as that Guan Yu. The Freaks do not attempt the end quite yet. Instead, they'll try and knock down this final Phoenix once more and successfully do so. Insomnia decide to give that up, and that's a wise call from them. Just didn't have the damage there and healthy to make the defense.
Also, being down 14,000 gold is never a good thing.
No.
When you're at 66,000 gold, you're sitting about 4.5, maybe 5 items deep, whereas Afreeca have been sitting pretty with 6 items for about the past 5 minutes.
And they can start buying power pots. In fact, a 3K pot now done for Battomancha to just finish off his build with a Titan's Bane, only relying on 1 defensive item and his own positioning to get him by, and it's worked out so far. The man's 11, 1, and 10. He's been a part of 21 of the Freaks' 24 kills. An impressive performance from their jungler.
You got to look at the other jungler as well, though. Jox has been all over the place for his team, being at 9, 4, and 4, 13 out of the 14 of his teammates' kills. A lot of jungle control between these two players.
Very much so. And as you mentioned, both, well, hold on. It looks like we may get some shenanigans here. Potential grouping like this with a Janus.
Shuttle!
Here it comes, through space and time, straight through. No Dignitasing here. They'll get this Titan. The Freaks take their game. That's game number 3 on the day, and their second win means they're looking good to qualify for the PS4 Pro League.
Just needs one more win to guarantee it, or a little bit of luck that there's no 3-way tie with 3 teams at a 2-1 record. Afreeca sealing the deal this time around. Insomnia, they took a long time in the earlier game where it took them 55 minutes. This time, they faced a team that knows how to close it out.
Very, very well done from the Freaks. And what I was about to say was that the junglers on both sides were doing very well, but the mids were very different stories. I mean, Treya was struggling heavily on the Zhong. Just couldn't find its footing in the team fights, wasn't putting out enough damage or surviving either way. And then the Janus on the other side was just doing it all for the Freaks.
The Janus is just so slippery. Zhong is more dominant in terms of the mid to late game. Once he has the protections, maybe going for a defensive build with a Warlock staff, but that wasn't really the case for Trey. He wanted a little bit more damage in that game, and not being able to survive the same way the slipperiness of a Janus was able to.
And the damage as well coming out of that Janus was just really, really intense. That combined with the damage and control of the Hun Batz was just a little bit too much for Insomnia to handle, as it turns out. So, as we saw earlier, that means that the Afreeca Freaks, they're now at 2-0. Insomnia sitting at 1-1. Still looking pretty solid. The only other team with a victory thus far, as we get closer and closer to finding out who will be in the PS4 Pro League in Europe. We already have 2 teams booked their tickets the other day. We're looking for our next 2 now. If you want tickets to the PS4 Pro League, well, you needed to do a whole bunch of stuff. But we got tickets for you anyways to HRX at DreamHack Atlanta this year, November 16th through the 18th. hi-rezexpo.com is the place to go to buy those tickets.
Don't forget to mark that date on your calendar a little bit sooner than your traditional HRX. That's not the first week of January that's been the past 4 years.
It's been it'll be a little bit warmer, a little bit nicer weather, at least we hope, as well as a really cool event at DreamHack Atlanta, the Georgia World Congress Center, a really cool place to see a bunch of different video games, a bunch of different esports, but you can just hang out by the Smite most of the time. That's the right call.
That's the play.
That's the play, for sure. We're going to go to a quick break, but we'll be right back with some more console action.